You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. I feel it. You feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup exploring over 60 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold on tight. You never know where the crew of the TARDIS is going next.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Earth Station Who. I am your host for tonight. My name is Mike Faber. Thank you guys for joining us, and we are looking at the state of the Whoverse. That's right, folks. Should be a ton of fun to talk all about Doctor Who. And you know what? This is going to be cool. Doctor Who is back, which it's great to say. And we're doing this live, and we definitely want everybody to get involved, everyone to jump in with both feet. And you know what? It's going to be great to talk to everyone. And we've got a great crew to join. Of course, let's say howdy to Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
How are you, sir?
Peachy keen. Welcome to the new year and new Who.
That's right. And it's our brand new YouTube channel.
New
This
YouTube.
is our first broadcast on our YouTube channel.
Wow.
Yeah.
People could see our faces.
We could see our faces finally. All this gleam and joy and everything. So, we got to kick up our game, and everything. We're going to go all high dev for, Earth Station Who. Do you really want to see us in high dev, though? I don't know about that part.
Yeah, that's a little too close.
Yes. And we got a great crew to talk to you guys tonight. Let's welcome Ciarán Moffatt.
Hello. Sorry, I just queued up there. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure working with you guys.
Always pleasure to have you. You're almost like our default go-to now, and which is a real positive and everything. And it's going to be great to talk all about Doctor Who tonight.
I'm the token non-American.
Okay, if you want to put it, and kind of British type almost. And
I live in Australia, but I am English. Yes. So.
Yes, I know.
It does give us an air of legitimacy. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
No, we're going to be, we're going to be really legitimate now because Ashley Pauls is here too.
Hello.
It's actually been a while since we've talked Doctor Who with you. So
it's always fun. I love talking about movies over on the main Earth Station 1 podcast, but Doctor Who is another one of my favorite fandoms. So always a pleasure to chat Who stuff with fellow fans.
I think you would totally just geek out if they combined Dune, Star Wars, and Doctor Who together.
I would just probably lay down and have to be resuscitated. So,
I mean, Zack Snyder will try it. He won't do it well, but he'll try it.
You know what?
No, exactly.
Yes, you're probably right about that. More is more.
Mm-hmm, exactly, and especially in Zach's case. So definitely, it's always great to be here to chat and everything. And you know what? This is awesome because, we're going to be talking all about the state of the Whoverse tonight. And, we've talked about the specials. We've talked about the Christmas special, the introduction of Chudy as the 15th Doctor. And it's just awesome to be able to look back at this now because we're going to talk about the specials and everything because they were just so powerful and so strong and everything that, it's going to be just a lot of different stuff we're going to talk about. But we're also going to look at the future, what we're going to be. This, we don't do a lot of predictions on this channel and stuff, but sometimes it's fun just to speculate and see where Doctor Who is going to be going in 2024. What are we going to expect? What are we going to see? And, we purposely kept Ciarán off of the specials because I wanted him on this one purposely, because I wanted him to look back at all the different stuff.
Oh boy, do I
and see what and consider me shocked, man. Consider me totally shocked on this one. So I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And you know what? Let's dive in. We have audience members. Sad to say Mary Ogle can't be joining us tonight. She got, I would say con crud, but I think it's
It's
just as bad.
pre-con crud.
Pre-con crud.
Because he hasn't gone to the convention yet.
Nope,
Oh.
exactly. We're not going till February, so.
There is something nasty going on around, at least the States. I know, Ashley, you missed a couple of podcasts a few weeks ago because of it and all that. And then, and so, yes, I think it's going around. So be careful out there.
So, exactly. And, Mary just wrote, just crud.
Just
so
crud.
It's okay. She's going to be monitoring the chat. So it's awesome. It's awesome that we're able to have a few people in there with us. She's like following us from I don't want to say above, but that's just she's stuck in the time vortex. Let's just say that. Yeah, that's it. I think that's better.
Well, yeah, she's in Florida, so she's definitely not above.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So someone already said, "We'll behave. No need for a monitor."
Will you? Will you?
Will you? Really? I know. So it's awesome. But you know what? It's so interesting these days to see what Doctor Who is becoming and changing and evolving. And that's the one thing we've always said about Doctor Who is it's about change. Every doctor is different. Every showrunner is different. And it's not the same show that came back even in 2005. It's evolved from that point. And so it's interesting to see. And I'm so tired of all the haters and the crap like that.
Yeah, look, if you have a problem with how Doctor Who has changed, the problem is not that Doctor Who has changed, it's that you haven't.
Exactly.
And you're right about it not being the same as 2005. Russell T Davies is not the same person as he was when he show ran it before. I mean, since then, huge things have happened to him. I mean, he was his partner had a terminal illness and he had to care for him. And he's gone on to make huge shows like Cucumber, It's a Sin, Years and Years, which have some very, very strong humanitarian themes in them. And I think he's at the point where he's like, I really don't care what people think. I'm putting this in Doctor Who. I'm giving this sense of the world to Doctor Who. And I think it needs it.
Mm-hmm.
When it was announced that he was going to return as the showrunner, I mean, there was a sense of, you could tell there was a sense of relief and a sense of contention with most of the fandom, mostly relief because of what his success rate was on the show previously. But I think at this stage in his life, yes, it's very fair to say that he did not take this job because he knows more than anybody how big of a job this is. Yeah. But he wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to invest in it unless he could bring something new to it, and do it the way he wanted to do it on his terms. And I think, we've seen with the contract that kind of got out about with him with Bad Wolf, that he does have a lot of control, a lot more control than he did before.
Yep.
And I think that, and another thing too, is he wouldn't do this if he didn't love Doctor Who. He loves this franchise.
Yep.
And I think that's coming from a really solid place too. So no matter what you feel about, him, regardless, I don't think you can deny that it's coming from a place of love and respect. Now, what happens after that, I mean, remains to be seen, but I think it's not just a guy who's coming in who doesn't know the franchise, who's not familiar, who wants to, radically, change everything just to change things.
No, I agree with that completely. I think, he cares about the product too, and he wants to put out a good product. He wants to take it to the next level.
I think that's also, he wants to, he has a platform and he will use it. That's what it is, a platform and he will use it.
Oh, and, the people out there who are saying, oh, this is it. This is the end. Doctor Who's become too woke. Doctor Who's always been woke, folks. And, and that's what we said earlier. That's what it's all about, is, just having Who back is great. It's wonderful to have, maybe more consistent of a show and everything. And there's so many haters now out there and so much misinformation out, it's crazy that they're doing that.
I saw a funny meme online that said, like, this is the typical cycle of Doctor Who. The new Doctor shows up. Everyone's like, oh, I hate this Doctor. This is the worst ever. And then like, oh, this person's okay. And then by the end, this is one of the best Doctors ever. I don't want them to go. So I feel like we always go through this cycle of hating on the new Doctor. And then once we meet them, we get to enjoy them. So just like fans, everyone, just give it some time, give yourself a chance. And the beauty of the show is, if a particular Doctor in the run doesn't resonate you, it may be somebody else's favorite Doctor. So just let them enjoy that. And then maybe the next regeneration will be your favorite. So it's a show that's never stagnant. It's always changing. And if a certain episode or Doctor doesn't speak to you, that's okay. The next one might.
Exactly. That's a perfect way to say it, actually.
A news cycle depends on definitive takes and negative takes. So every article has to be, this is a fact, and also quite often, like, this is negative. A few weeks ago, and this got, like, one place did an article on it. It was doctorwhotv.co.uk, did an article about Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson might be stepping down. And this article was drawn from cherry-picked quotes from other sources from 2023, and then everyone on social media like launched on that, because you can't put out an article saying, oh, these, like, it doesn't, no one reads the article and says, oh, they said this and it might mean this. No, it has to be like, they are leaving. Could they be leaving? In a big, like, bold question marks. And people on like YouTube, let's face it, YouTubers love to do like real quick, like harsh cut reacts to these things.
Yes.
And that's how these things spiral.
No, and we'll touch more on that later, because I have a couple theories and a couple thoughts on that. But I don't want to, jump too far ahead. Let's, touch about where Doctor Who's been since the beginning of November, pretty much. We got basically a whole new, era of Doctor Who with the return of David Tennant, and we had the Star Beast. And, you had Donna back, you had Donna's mom, and you got the introduction of Rose, which was really awesome. I loved all the characters in that. And, Ciarán, since we haven't talked to you, what were your initial thoughts with the specials?
So if we're start with the Star Beast, they managed to humanize Sylvia Noble, which I didn't think was possible.
That was shocking completely.
I have said before, like the greatest evil in the universe of Doctor Who is Sylvia Noble. She's a horrible, horrible person. And in this episode, I was like, oh, she's behaving like a normal human being, and she's really quite nice and kind. It was great to see the Star Beast adapted. I loved it. Miriam Margolyes put on a great performance. Just the practical effects that went into it. Like, I can see why they started it with that, because it is big, it is bold, and it shows exactly. And it's also classic Doctor Who, basically. It is a classic Doctor Who idea. Aliens come and there's big explosions and things like that. Beautiful. We've lost Mike.
We just did lose Mike Gordon. That's okay. Keep going.
We'll be back for him. Leave him.
Leave him. We got to move forward.
It was great. It was Russell tied up the loose ends and just let it go. I think this is the start of, and it's something we will touch on again, is Russell T Davies, as in his words, his move to fantasy over sci-fi. Now, what that means is essentially no explanations. It's like, don't question it, just accept that this thing just happened. So like Donna losing all of the meta crisis and everything like that was done very, very quickly. And it was him basically going, look, we don't need that anymore. That bit's done. Don't question it. Don't, overdo it. Like, yeah, it's the same as if you skip forward to Church on Ruby Road. There's a flying ship. Don't question it. It exists. Science probably works for it, but just we're not focusing on that right now. We're focusing on the characterization. So,
well, exactly, and it's interesting. Somebody in the Facebook group in the chat actually put it was a great new jumpstart for new viewers
absolutely.
To come to Doctor Who. And I know people who gave up on Doctor Who came back for this also, and that was pretty amazing. To people who didn't like Capaldi or they didn't like Jodie's Doctor came back to Doctor Who. And it was just interesting to see, how many people gained interest in Doctor Who and everything. So, but I think it was definitely a good start for the new era.
Yeah. Looking at the 60th anniversary specials as a whole for a second, it was very, very calculated. So we have the Star Beast, which is an adaptation of the most popular comic story ever. Like, it is the most popular Doctor Who comic story. Everyone remembers it.
How many times has it been reprinted? It's been tons.
Exactly.
And
like,
tons.
David Tennant read it when he was a kid. There's a great video in Doctor Who Unleashed where he meets Dave Gibbons and, like, gets his copy signed. It's absolutely adorable. So that's how you draw people in. It feels like a classic story, and then you've got Wild Blue Yonder, which is the creepy one in the middle, because Doctor Who always has the creepy one in the middle. And then the Giggle is the huge set piece with the regeneration that everyone waits for. But also, typical of Russell T Davies, he gave Doctor Who the ending that it has always needed and can never have. So now it's got its ending. It can do whatever it wants. So the whole 60th anniversary was brilliant. But yeah, the Star Beast was a perfect jumping off point.
Oh, very much so. And it was interesting too, because it was fun to be able to see this comic I read as a kid come to life.
Yep.
And very, very well done. And it's funny because I think I might have even mentioned this when we did our review, but Judy had never even read the comic, so she didn't know the turn was coming with Beep, and it was just awesome.
Yep.
And the look on her face when Beep turned evil, it was just like, oh, what? He's so cute. He's E.T. And everything.
It predates E.T., which I love.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. But the set pieces were great. I loved the reveal with Rose. I loved all the adorable stuffed animals in the shed. Like, someone in the production team made those.
Oh, very much so. That must have been so much fun to do, too. It must have been a great, great project.
Yep.
Interesting, we got a comment. It said, basically, Ciarán just made me realize that it feels like Doctor Who is being made by people who love it again. And to be honest, the last series just didn't feel that way. It just felt like it was work for them. It wasn't passion. It wasn't a passion project.
I think, and it's a very valid point, like Doctor Who is being made by people who absolutely adore it. I feel like I have to come up to bat for Chris Chibnall. I know it's very easy to slam him. I think he does love Doctor Who. I think he very much does very fondly remember Doctor Who. I think his problem is one thing that I would caution all writers about, which is don't hang on to an idea for too long, because it rots. He had that idea for Doctor Who since he was a kid. And if you hold on to an idea for too long, it rots, it festers, and it just you can't work it, because you try and put something out and there's too much assumed knowledge. Like, you think it's straightforward because you've made all the connections in your head already. You've been doing it for 30 years. And then everyone else is like, well, that was a mess. I don't understand how that works. And you go, no, of course it works. How do you see this? No, because it's all in your head.
Well, I think a lot of people who come to projects that are already existing have what they want to do with the show, what they want to do with, and I know, like with Moffatt, he had the character of Amy Pond created for years and years before he even started working on the TV show Doctor Who.
Well, yeah, Moffatt wanted to expand lore. I mean, the whole the word Doctor coming from the Doctor is a great little bit of lore there. When Big Finish was founded, they had a big meeting with all the writers they knew might want to do it. And Stephen Moffatt and Russell T Davies were there. Russell said he didn't want to work in audio. And Stephen said he'd only do it if he was allowed to create new stories with new mythology for the Eighth Doctor. And so, walked away because he couldn't do that. So, yeah, that people want to expand the mythology. And as I've said on my own show, who among us would not, if they got a job working on Doctor Who, want to put in their own little headcanon? Who wouldn't want to do that? If I was on Doctor Who, day one, the Metacrisis Doctor is the Valeyard. That's it. That's my job done.
Wow. Don't disagree with that, but yes, I think that's pretty awesome.
Back onto the 60th anniversary.
Back to the 60th anniversary. But I loved how all 3 episodes really explored the Doctor and Donna's relationship and what they mean to it. But you also, they started giving the hints that the Doctor was even through from halfway through the first of the specials, he started looking very ragged. He started looking very tired and worn out. Yeah. And obviously that played out in the 3rd episode very wisely too, and everything. And so, because we kept on asking, why did the Doctor come back as an old face? And
that's another thing Russell has had in his head for a long time, because I know that when Stephen Moffat wanted to cast Peter Capaldi, he asked Russell T Davies whether, because he knew that he had a sort of idea, because of course Peter Capaldi had played Caecilius in Fires of Pompeii and John Frobisher in Torchwood Children of Earth, and he asked if that worked. So Russell T Davies has had in his head for a long while the idea of the subconscious changing your face for a reason, and his relationship to Donna, which I would say is, despite Tumblr, don't come for me, but despite what everyone says about Rose and Martha and all these people who love the Doctor, Donna is the only one that never wanted anything from him. She never wanted a romantic relationship. She was just accepting of who he was, and she was his best friend. And that's why he came back. That's why he came back from her. So.
No, it's interesting, too, because a lot of people hated how Donna's story ended. That, they felt like it really ripped the character off. It was, almost like, a tragic end to a character that grew and was a brilliant character. And, I wonder if RTD had already at that point been planning some, way of thinking hey, this is how I'm going to redeem the character somewhere down the line, or talk to Stephen or talk to whoever the showrunner is about finishing that story or something.
It's possible. Sorry. After you, please.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's a nice bit of closure. I agree.
Oh, it very much is. And I think it's one of those things when someone has the opportunity to go back to their work, of course they want to do things different, because you get no second drafts in things like this. You if you want to do things differently, there's later down the line. If I can compare it to another fandom that's big at the moment, is the Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney Plus. There are a lot of minor changes to what went on in the book, and people like to complain when things aren't exactly the way they want them.
People just like to complain. That's just the
period.
Fact. Period. But, no ifs, whats, or buts.
But but Rick Riordan has said, he wrote these books 20 years ago. Of course, there's things that he would change now because he's grown as a person. And I think that's what Doctor Who is. Russell is bringing as I said at the start, he's bringing all the energy to Doctor Who, and he's doing the things differently that he wishes he'd done before. Because it's not like what he was doing before was wrong. It was just that was who Russell was then. And this is who Russell is now.
No, totally. And it's interesting. Someone wrote on Facebook, Donna was a true companion, a counterpart to the Doctor, and not a puppy tagging along. And we often got
Could that be thinking of?
with. Well, you had that. Well, I hate to say it, both Rose and Martha were that way.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think Martha gets a really bum deal. I do, because she gets nothing. Rose at least gets a clone of the Doctor in another parallel universe. Martha gets nothing but trauma.
Poor Martha.
Poor Martha. I'm hoping Martha is going to get redeemed also.
That would be awesome.
There's rumor that she's going to either be appearing in this season 1 or in the Torchwood unit spinoff that we are hopefully going to get.
I think I need to say this. All right, we are never getting more Torchwood. I'm sorry, we are never getting more Torchwood.
No, we are not going to get
entirely
Torchwood.
On Big Finish now. Eve Miles might go into unit, but we're never getting more Torchwood on TV. There is a shot in the the next season trailer at the end of Ruby Road that looks like Martha and Rose are standing behind the Doctor, but best guess is that's from it's from the creepy episode in the middle of the season where the Doctor and Ruby are in some tunnels being hunted by some psychic monster or something. But everyone was like, "Oh, look, it's Martha. Oh, look, it's Rose." I was like, "It's not going to be them. It's never going to be them."
No, exactly. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, I definitely would love to see Martha get a better story also, especially with who Russell left her with at the end of Tennant's last episode.
And she's the only one who doesn't get her own Doctor.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was just saying that.
You get a doctor. You get a
doctor, but not you. Not you.
But not you, Martha.
And she's not even, and she's not even mentioned. I saw this theory kind of going around, and you guys might have already talked about this, so forgive me while I was having internet issues. But that instead of Mel, it was supposed to be Martha.
Really?
And in some ways, that does make some sense. But whether or not maybe it was, I don't know if that's true and what the logistics would be behind that. But in any case, I did feel like she was ill-served during the anniversary specials. And she has been ill-served ever since they, RTD stuck her with Mickey at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You deserve better, girl.
And I thought that before I knew all the stuff about the actor,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, maybe she'll get her, her own thing at some point. But
I agree with what you.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I think Russell probably did intend for Mel to be there because I think Mel is the companion from when he was really big into Doctor Who, because he actually sent in a script. He tried to write for Doctor Who in the 80s for the 6th Doctor and Mel. He sent in a script that was never picked up and was later produced by Big Finish. So I think he is. I mean, who doesn't love Bonnie Langford? She's just that was such a joyous, wonderful scene. You're not a fan of Bonnie Langford? Oh.
Me?
Well, I mean, and to that point, I mean, he does sort of give her much more personality, much more attention than she ever had before on her run on the show.
Oh God, she was. No, I did not like her in Trial of a Time Lord, and I did not think she had any chemistry at all when she was with the 7th Doctor, at all, and everything. I loved it when Ace came on board. I was cheering because we got rid of Mel.
Big finish. I'm just every time.
Oh no, I agree with that. Big Finish has revitalized Perry, has revitalized the 6th Doctor, and has revitalized Mel completely. And I think they've done great jobs at that.
And that's the Mel we're going to see.
That's why we're not
now. She'll be back.
Exactly, but I think the Mel we got in The Giggle was so much better than what we ever saw in the old series.
Yep.
Ever. And I cared that she was in it, I loved that she was part of Unit. And so it was awesome. I enjoyed that part. So it was pretty cool.
I thought she was too kind to Sabalom Glitz, but that's my only criticism of that.
Right. No, and such. So, and it was neat to see, and I loved how we got UNIT in 2 of the stories. So I thought, I was very happy to see the return of Catherine Stewart. I was happy to see UNIT. I liked the new characters. I have no idea what that robot thing was. I'm hoping we're going to get some kind, and it's just like, it almost felt like that was put in there for the kids. In some ways.
No, I think that was put in there as the fact that he had no explanations about anything going on at UNIT was all it was just showing what UNIT is because it's going to be in a spin-off, clearly. And I'm sure we will talk about the spin-off that was kind of unfortunately announced the other day. But yeah. It was there to be like, the new this is what UNIT is now. We're going to explain what it is later, because all the characters had names. Like if you watch The Giggle, or indeed if you watch the Star Beast, all of the UNIT characters have names. They would not have names if they're just there for like one episode, or they have names, very specific names. Also, UNIT is very specifically multicultural. They make a big point of showing that over those 2 specials.
Oh, very much so. And handicap accessible, which is wonderful. And everything. I love the character of Shirley. I thought she was awesome.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with her. I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. And, but I would like to see some Osgood come back too, if they do the spinoff. So.
I'm not sure. No, I'm just not sure. I mean, because one of them survived, didn't they? And still not entirely sure whether, like, how many of them are Zygons at this point. Osgood would be great. I feel like Osgood is going to be one of those characters that now gets name checked forever as being on like the UNIT moon base, or like, oh yeah, Osgood's doing this. Like how they're constantly just like, oh, the Brigadier's in Geneva, or the Brigadier's in Peru. That's going to be the new thing. Osgood is in Brazil. Like, yeah.
Very much so. And that's kind of the interesting thing. So I'm going to be very curious to see what they do with UNIT this season. And, there is rumor going around that there is, the new spinoff is the Sea Devils. And, so much so that reports already saying that they're going to be starting production in March on this.
Yeah, it comes from in the UK. The production needs to list that it's going into production. They need to put out a formal notice saying they're going into production. And yeah, it's been announced as the war between the land and the sea, which I don't know, sounds like a very, because Russell T Davies teased that there was a spin-off with an 8-word title. And that is 8 words, but it sounds like bait. And it's not, brevity is the soul of wit. Like, make it a little bit shorter. But yeah, Sea Devils, I'm keen. If it is like that, obviously UNIT's going to be involved, because why would UNIT not be involved in that?
Right. But that could be that could be the UNIT spinoff that they were.
Absolutely. And we're already getting more UNIT next season. So UNIT's here to stay. Where the Sea Devils are concerned, I liked the concept behind the special they did a couple of years ago. The one thing I hated was the production team. Someone thought it was a good idea that instead of making the mouths move, what they do is digitally stretch the frames. And so it looked like some sort of Hunter S. Thompson like drug scene while their faces like stretched and contorted. I hated it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I really hated it. Like the story was fine, the costumes were fine, but that one thing just totally, like, talk about willing suspension of disbelief. I lost it completely. So yeah, again, I don't want to go into criticizing Chibnall, but
all right, we have 34 minutes and 57 seconds.
Wow, I
into
figured
the
that's
show.
what you guys were doing all the time I was gone.
We were actually trying to be nice this
I
time,
defended
Mikey.
him earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
My goodness.
That was the first
That's a
bash.
rarity.
But now that we're doing that, let's get into. It's interesting because I think we talked about this during the Christmas special. They brought in the Timeless Child, and they have not ignored it. Starting with Wild Blue Yonder forward, they've talked about it almost every episode, and and they've explained it better in these than ever Chibnall ever did.
I think it's just Russell T Davies is sort of trimming it to fit his own world. Like he's just sort of gone. He's not going to ignore anything. And also, as we've talked about before, Russell T Davies has made it perfectly clear that he is not listening to any of you. He's not listening to anyone. He's doing the things he wants to do, and you can't tell him otherwise. But yeah, and like just the little line about I made a jigsaw puzzle of your past. Did you like it?
Past.
Gorgeous line, and also in Church on Ruby Road, I'm adopted. I just found out recently. Yeah, that's how you handle that lore. These things it'll fade. Whether he takes it and runs with it, or whether it just sort of fades into the background. Doctor Who has the ability to just let the uncomfortable things slide. Like we don't talk about the Doctor being half human. We leave that alone. We leave that well alone. We don't talk about the Morbius doctors. We just ignore it.
No, exactly. And it's, now where does, the Rose Doctor come in, and,
Valiant.
Where does she fit?
I'm telling you, he's Valiant. One day they will let me in the production.
Well,
team.
we can't do a future of the Whoniverse special without mentioning the Valiant or the Ronnie. So, those are two words that have to be mentioned every time you speculate.
Did any of you guys hear about it was about last week, I think it might have been an issue of Doctor Who magazine. He's the Ronnie. It might have been in Doctor Who magazine. But Russell T Davies said that his original script for when the Bi-Generation happened, Mel had a line about, this has happened before, but I didn't see it. I was unconscious. The Rani did this. And he made a very conscious effort of putting the Rani in that script, taking it out, but then telling everyone that he put her in.
Yes, little Easter egg there.
Yeah. At the giggle, when the tooth the gold tooth that has the master in it is picked up by someone apparently standing on midair. Which is a callback.
Can everybody float?
Yeah.
Come on.
Which is a callback to when the Master's ring fell out of the fire and a hand picked it up. And I remember in Doctor Who magazine when that happened, Russell T Davies said, yes, that's the hand of the Rani. Because he's a shit stirrer. That is what...
Yes, he is.
Stir that pot.
Exactly.
Well, he enjoys people, because if people aren't talking about Doctor Who, then people aren't watching Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
I mean, he has done an amazing job. He and Bad Wolf and everybody have done an amazing job keeping Doctor Who in the news for most of the time, but leading up to the specials, and now continuing on with that. There's not a week that goes by where you don't see casting news or something that the BBC has to respond to. Somebody slips and lets something out or whatever. I mean, it's just, or he has to respond to something. So I think he's done an incredible job keeping it relevant and keeping people talking about it.
Oh, very much so. Because, I was looking through some of my memories over the last couple of days. One of the things that came up, we already, by this time last year, we had already seen Ncuti in his new costume as the Doctor.
Yep.
So Russell has been building the excitement. You saw, who is the new Doctor? What is he about? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just interesting to see you know, how excited everyone was, you know, with us, most Whovians, the anticipation for the countdown to the 60th anniversary. And, you know, everyone had all these different expectations. It's going to be a multi-doctor story, which technically it was,
yeah.
you know, and it was just
ruined
interesting
too,
with that.
didn't it? If you look at the second one, the expectations of what it was going to be made it fall flat for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, very much so. You know, oh, there's all this hush hush about the second episode. Nobody's talking about it. And, you know, there's going to be multi-doctors. Matt Smith was seen on set, or, you know, or River Song might be appearing, and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
So it might be an adaptation of Scherzo from Big Finish. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of rumors, though, I remember, I was thinking about this the other day. I read a rumor about 18 months ago that said, I was just like, that'll never happen. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It was just like, new Doctor Ncuti Gatwa seen in his underwear hitting TARDIS with a giant mallet. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. That's not true.
And yet
it happened.
And we got it. Oh, we got it. That was still to this day. It's like, because I rewatched all the specials, and I watched the Christmas special over again to get prepared for this, and it was still to see him pull the mallet out of that hole in the TARDIS, the little trap door in the entryway, and just like taking a swing at the TARDIS and then apologizing. Sorry.
Again, it's Russell T Davies's fantasy thing of don't ask questions. It works somehow. Just don't ask questions, and you'll be fine. You'll be happy. That's okay.
No, it's true. And it's. Go ahead, Ashley.
I was just going to say, I'm also think that it's big that it's available on Disney Plus, at least here in the U.S., because I'm hopeful that maybe some new fans will find it as they're just scrolling through and looking for stuff to watch. Not to name names of other franchises, but as some other franchises are kind of having some stumbles or some grumbling amongst the fans, people might be looking for something new to watch. And I would love more people to, and viewers of all ages, to discover Doctor Who through there and get on board.
What was really good about that is it's on Disney Plus everywhere in the world except for in the UK and Ireland. Because it's, you know, basically it's on BBC there.
Yeah.
So everywhere else, this is the first time it's all on one channel, you know, and everything.
Well,
so.
Yes, I mean, I see what you're saying, that it's available everywhere at pretty much the same venue. However, I do think, like, so when we first heard about the deal that Doctor Who was going to Disney Plus, I mean, everybody was, you know, and there were some people thinking that, oh my God, now Disney owns it. They're going to make changes. They're going to do this. They're going to do that, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, everybody was like you, Mike. They were like thinking, hey, this is going to be great. Everybody's going to have access to it. It's going to open up a whole new audience. Well, after the last year that Disney had, it might not be such a great thing that Doctor Who is on Disney Plus. I mean, that's going to be, and the way that they've treated it too. I mean, I think a lot of us thought that they were going to get some other content other than just the new stuff. You know, I mean, I think a lot of us were wishing, you know, outside of the UK, that we're wishing that we had access to BBC iPlayer, because that seems like, if you're a Whovian, that seems like it's the thing to have, because you've got access to everything, pretty much
all in one place, which is
all in
awesome.
one place,
and that's
I think
one of
a
the
lot
things
people are looking for these days.
Oh yeah, and it's hugely popular there. It is hugely popular. I posted something up on our Facebook group, which everyone should get involved with. So check out our Station Who up on our Facebook group page. Definitely check out our group. It's a great place to be. But in that group, we posted an article about even BBC is surprised how popular the one player has been for Whovians. And, you know, and a lot of people who answered on that and responded to that, they were going, you know, basically, you know, anywhere else in the world, you have to go like 14 different places to watch if you want to watch Doctor Who all the way from An Unearthly Child up to the newest series. And that sucks. And I know it's, how people buy rights to the show and stuff like that. I'm hoping eventually everywhere will be on Disney. I'm looking forward to the day when, going to Disney Plus and seeing a Doctor Who section like they have Marvel, Star Wars,
they do have that.
National
There's only
Geographic.
4 things in it right now.
But
the thing about iPlayer is, so in the UK, obviously, like laws regarding streaming are very, very new, and the BBC is one of the oldest working television networks in the world, and it's also state owned, and so due to competition laws, they can't actually put most of their back catalogue up on iPlayer. It's only recently that they've been allowed to do that, which is why they can do what they're doing with Doctor Who. One of the big problems here in Australia, I have to mention Australia here, is that Doctor Who, since its inception, has aired here on the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which is a state-owned television network. I think the closest thing you guys have in the US is PBS, but like ABC is government-funded, it is free to air for all Australians, and it is ad-free. And Doctor Who has aired on that this whole time. This is the first time ever that a new series of Doctor Who has come out that it has not aired on the ABC. And so, if anything, coming out on Disney Plus in Australia has lowered accessibility in Australia for Doctor Who.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So
just because not so many people are streaming there? Or?
Well, our internet is unfortunately terrible because Rupert Murdoch crippled our internet system to make sure that we still bought Foxtel. But yeah, so the internet is not great, but people are streaming. But the thing is, the pickup rate for older Australians is difficult. So, older Australians who like Doctor Who, they're not able to watch it because they don't have streaming. They don't know how to stream. They don't have the infrastructure. We're talking people who still have landline phones that don't have broadband internet. Like we only just, I don't even have complete fiber to my house. It's still partially copper. So
it's probably true for most countries. Even in the United States, I would reckon that there are less subscribers to Disney Plus than have access to BBC America, Sci-Fi Channel, the places that it's aired before. Starting with its origins on PBS. So I feel like, even though it is kind of cool in a global sense that a lot of people can access it in a similar way, I do feel like the audience is probably less than it was for past iterations of Doctor Who.
I think it's checks and balances. Well, actually, I think it'll go up and down on either side.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with what Ciarán's saying with that. Because actually, like, for me to see BBC America, because I don't have cable, I have to then subscribe to AMC Plus and to get it. And I don't watch anything else on AMC Plus. And so once the new series has left it, I let that go by the wayside.
It's true, but you're an exception to the rule. I mean, most people have cable.
No, they don't. Not as much as they used to, dude. There's more and more people are addicted to cable.
That's absolutely true. Not as much as used to, but still, in this country, more people have cable than any other service. The way they get their TV, that's just a fact. So, it is lessening, but it right now it is the case.
And also, your country is the only country that operates like that. Cable is not really a thing. Here in Australia, there is one cable company, and it's owned by Fox, and all the networks on it are owned by Fox. And so streaming has basically been a godsend to us. But
Brady,
it's getting there for us. I don't know if I'd quite call it a godsend because they still are. Right now, I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess right now, and that's not just in this country. That's worldwide. So that's a thing that, but I mean, the people who want it are going to find it.
Yeah.
Exactly. The Doctor Who fans are going to find it.
So that's
the cool
that
thing
is
about it.
of itself. And I know that they're making it available so that you can purchase it digitally. And I'm sure you'll be able to purchase, hard copies of it as well. They've done very, very well. The BBC has done pretty well at packaging and selling hard, like still having actual media that people can buy of Doctor Who, which is, I think, a credit to them as well.
Now,
And
again,
it's,
sorry.
it's people now in the chat room are now going in,
Of course.
Of course, they're like going, in July 2022, streaming platforms surpassed cable for the first time. Nielsen's monthly report stated that OTT service cornered 34.8% of the screen time. Cable had 34.4% viewership.
That's a huge percentage difference there.
Plus, you also need to be
My God.
As far as like hard copies go, so I'll tell you one interesting thing again about Australia. Disney has decided to stop selling physical media in Australia. And they're doing that as a test case to see if they can stop selling digital media around the world and just get people to buy Disney Plus, which means they can then jack the price up of Disney Plus because it's the only place to get anything. It's the new Vault, basically.
Pretty much.
The other thing is, getting physical media of Doctor Who is hard here. So there's been huge problems with distributors and publishers and stuff. So I collect the collection, like classic collection box sets. I get them from the UK because very fortunately Australia and UK are in the same region when it comes to Blu-rays.
That's good.
So that's very, very thankful. But I think you guys are probably much better place to get physical media there. I don't know whether the specials, like the anniversary specials, DVD or Blu-ray out there yet.
They're not available yet.
It's available. It's available in my region. I haven't got one because it doesn't come with anything extra. Like I'd be happy if it came with Doctor Who Unleashed and with like the extra things, but no, it's just the stories. So
it sucks if they don't come out with the Unleashed with it at least. Yeah. They should. If you're going to get it on disc, have some reason for people to buy it that way.
Yeah.
But I'll be one of the people who does buy it because I'm a completist and I have all the different series and stuff.
And it's one of the things that somebody mentioned in the chat as well. It's like, if those of us who have Disney Plus, we are getting the stories and trailers, but that's it. We are not getting any of the extra additional making of behind the scenes, Tales of the TARDIS kind of stuff. We are missing out on a lot of that stuff, which is unfair as well.
I think it'll come out. I think they're giving it a while for it to be UK exclusive, but then it will start to come out because insofar as moving forward with Doctor Who, I think those Tales of the TARDIS were very, very deliberate in which stories they chose, and I think that they're going to become plot points, especially insofar as the Curse of Fenric. When we get onto what's going to happen coming on, I have theories. I have little bits of string to bits of paper and a pinboard. Yeah.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised there?
But shall we?
So
should we do Wild Bull?
Let's get back to. Let's talk to this about this right now.
Okay. All right. So. During our reviews of each of the episodes, including each of the specials, including the giggle, I was probably the most vocal about being how disappointed I was with this decision to split the Doctor in two and to have two Doctors. I thought it was overall a interesting but cowardly move, a safe move, and that I was really kind of disappointed that we had more than one Doctor. Not to mention the fact that outside of the story, Russell says that all the Doctors are now viable as well. So Ncudi's not only got one Doctor to compete against, but every Doctor's ever been in existence to compete against as far as telling new stories. He's not the Doctor as much as he's a Doctor. Now, I'm still mulling over that, and we'll see how that works out in the future. I mean, obviously it's a work in progress. But as far as cowardly and safe, I will have to say that, with the Church on Ruby Road, it's the first episode in Doctor Who franchise history that does not credit a white male performer as a regular cast member. And while I know a lot of people are like, some people, hate that stat because it's so woke or whatever, I think it shows how bold that Russell T is going to be moving forward. And he's not afraid of taking chances. This Doctor Ncuti's Doctor feels like the most different Doctor that we've ever had in the franchise. And that is exciting to me. And even though I'm still very reluctant to have this happen. I feel like going forward, as far as with Ncuti's run, I feel like that it's going to be really, really, really exciting. So I'm very excited about that, and I trust in RTD to move that forward in a way that's really compelling and exciting.
I'm going to be very curious to see what they do with it. If, I don't think we'll see David's Doctor for quite some time. Mm-hmm. I think 14 is going to go off and do whatever. I don't, because that will take away from Ncuti's Doctor, mm-hmm. truthfully.
I think he'll come back in
you're trying to establish him.
Yeah, we'll get the Avengers moment in like a series, 2 series, and he'll be back. I don't think it's problematic. I think it's Russell T Davies trying to give us an out. He's trying to say, look, everything's canon now. You can do anything. I'm not going to actively bring everyone in, but I think, that it's. I think he also just wanted the move. He said in Unleashed that what he wanted to do was he always loved multi-Doctor stories, but he always wanted a story where the Doctor met the next Doctor straight away, and so this is the only way to do it. And again,
yes, I do appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's an end to the story. It is an end to it. Like they gave David Tennant basically the Doctor's happy ending that you can't have, that he always wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Even when he went to go regenerate, he even went LNZ instead of I don't want to go.
Yeah. I think it is a nice bit of closure for fans. I know that David Tennant, when people say, who's your Doctor? David Tennant is mine, and just how many heartbreaking stories he had. So I don't necessarily want to see him all back a lot of the time, all the time because of this, but I think it was nice in order to be able to kind of like send him off into the sunset, give him closure, and okay, now we can all be all in and focus on Ncuti and what he's going to bring to the role.
Well, almost like how they were saying, when Ncuti said, I went, basically you're going to have to go through, into rehab the hard way. And, that he's going to have to learn how to chill out and everything. And that Ncuti's Doctor already went through it.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's timey-wimey. And it also is Russell T Davies going, we're going to get rid of all of the, we're going to get rid of all the emo, all the moody. We're done with that. We want a happy Doctor. He's dealt with all his problems. He is a better, well-adjusted Doctor for the 21st century.
Except he does kind of, he does have the sort of, right away in the first episode, he's kind of like, oh, I was adopted, and he's very, he's so open. And it's so amazing to have a Doctor that's so open like that. None of the other previous incarnations of the Doctor would have been comfortable doing that, especially on day one.
No, exactly, and that's what made companion. That's what made it interesting. Is this is a Doctor who's in touch with his true feelings. He knows who he is. He has, all his, he's not going to be afraid to hug a person or cry with a person, not just be, standoffish, looking over the people while they're grieving or something.
Gone are the days of the repressed Englishman.
But it's so exciting because, almost every sequence throughout that first outing, he's dancing, he's crying, he's emoting, he's hugging, he's
singing.
He's singing. Thank you. Yes. Even the sequence, where he talks to the policeman, about his about the proposal and everything, which I guess Russell said that was actually a note from Disney that they should add something about. They wanted more doctor in the beginning than the first act of the episode, but I don't think they asked for that specific scene, but they just said they wanted a little bit more doctor, like in the first act. So, he's so exciting that I'm excited to see, this continue on. What is he going to do next? What is he capable of? I mean, the sky's the limit on this guy.
Yeah.
The universe is the limit on this guy.
There truly is like a special light and sparkle in his eye. You can see when he's on screen, like he's full of energy. He's full of life, both as a performer in real life and as the character. And I think he's just ready to dive in, and that's going to make him a joy to watch. I think if I had to pick one word to sum up the Christmas special, it would be joy. Just like seeing him be excited made me excited too.
I'm a big fan of Sex Education, and I just before Doctor Who had started, like the 40th anniversary had started, I'd finally got around to watching the last season, and like the second to last episode, because like the whole time I knew Ncuti Gatwa was going to be the Doctor, and I'm like, I've only seen him in Sex Ed. He's been quite flippant. The second to last episode of that, I watched it, and he's counseling someone, and it's so raw and emotional, and I cried, and I'm just like, oh yeah, no, that's why he's the Doctor. It's amazing. That is why he's the Doctor. I love this performance so much. I really do.
He's fun,
Exactly.
but he has depth too.
Very much so. It's interesting. Someone wrote, Ncuti's a very physical actor, but it also feels like there's a deep emotional core there, and that makes him mesmerizing to watch. He was mesmerizing, literally, from when he split from Tennant. He literally was owning the screen. His chemistry, his physical persona was just amazing. He's got it. He lit the screen.
Yeah, he's got it. Whatever it is, I mean, he's got it in spades.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so. And that's the wonderful thing. And I think that's going to attract people to the series, because he's not like any other Doctor we've seen before.
There are moments
I'm
when
looking forward to it.
like other Doctors shine out. Like my co-host Amber was saying, the bit where he's like trying to work out the ropes. He's like, I'm learning the language of ropes. It's like that is so like it like 10th Doctor, 11th Doctor, and like the crabbiness of the 6th Doctor. He has that performance that he can be many characters at once, which you need to be the Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's so different, like I said, probably the most radically different personality we've ever had in the franchise. I still sense the Doctor in him.
Yeah.
I still not like I don't feel like I'm watching a completely different being or character or whatever. He still feels, and I would be really interested to hear from him. And behind the scenes, like what, like how he approaches it that way, because it's so different, yet it does feel familiar.
Yeah.
Even when he's like, at the end of the Ruby Road, he leaves the door open, and you got to figure he's been posing on that column for like 10 minutes, just waiting for her to come in. And she already knows who he is, but he's like, I'm the Doctor.
Yeah.
He's
been workshopping that one.
Loving it, like that. What a poser! Like he's just, it's so fun. It's so fun. It's a great way to to introduce this character.
Look, Doctor Who's gay. Like these specials, Doctor Who is gay. Like the dancing in the club in a singlet and kilt, amazing. And Neil Patrick Harris dancing to spice up your life. I know from watching the Unleashed that Neil Patrick Harris is just like, everyone in the UK knows what this song is. I've never heard it. I don't know what is this song. Everyone knows it. And yeah, everyone knows it. And it was the most amazing, like, it was the gayest Doctor Who has ever been, and I loved it.
That is awesome. No, and it's awesome because he was so free. That scene in the dance club was just amazing. And he was, he was so free. And Judy looked at me and said, "The Doctor dances."
Oh,
so.
yeah. He's full of life and
There's an episode
possibility.
called that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it was just awesome. And I loved how they introduced Ruby. I really liked how they introduced Ruby.
That was what I was going to say about that episode. The great thing about it is that it is low stakes. The universe isn't ending. Huge swathes of people aren't dying. It is a story how if you remove one person from a family, everyone else in that family is worse off. That's what that story is.
Oh, very much so.
She makes her mother and her grandmother's life better by being there. And that's beautiful. And that is what Christmas is. Like, that's why it's the Christmas special. Like, this is Dickensian.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, it's Dickensian in its telling of morality. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very much so. And I liked the character. I thought she wasn't whiny. She wasn't like Doctor Save Me anything. She was pretty independent, which I liked.
Want my prediction?
The chemistry between. What's
I was going to say, you want my prediction for next season?
Of course.
In the Beatles episode that's coming up next season, I will bet money that Mick Jagger is at Abbey Road Studios and meets her and goes, "Oh, Ruby Sunday, that's great, but it'd be better if it was a Tuesday." And that's it. Like,
there's going to be a song reference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to. There has to be. Yeah. There has
she will be the originator of the song Ruby Tuesday. Yep.
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh no, this is not the first time I've heard that.
So as usual, and not in any way original.
Sorry, bud. But yeah, I like the character. I'm curious to see, how she's going to grow. And then there's the whole story with who's her mother, and do we even need to know who her mother is and everything. Oh. And I've heard so many frippin' guesses already.
I know
from it. Yeah, it's the Ronnie, of course.
No,
I've heard everything that it was Dr. 13 dropping her off.
She's her own mother. We know.
Yeah.
She gave birth to herself.
Just that the woman in the snow with the boots that are clearly the boots that she is wearing in that photo is her.
Yeah. Exactly. And there was a reason the Doctor didn't chase after the mother and everything. So
I think more important. I mean, we don't know. We'll see how it plays out. And I'm not interested in guessing as far as all that goes. I'll see how it plays out. But what I am interested to see is the dynamic in previous seasons, especially with New Who. We've seen don't mess with Cherry Sunday. Do not mess with Cherry Sunday. And her tea. We find that out. But the dynamic has seemed to been with New Who is that the Doctor needs a companion so that he doesn't go like off the
overboard.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
With this new dynamic, with this new Doctor does not seem like he's one that's on the brink of, becoming a crazy godlike figure. So what does the relationship look like between the companion and this Doctor? I'm really curious to see how that plays out.
I think Ncuti has said in interviews that the dynamic that they've sort of cultivated is that of like a couple of students at the back of the class. They're like their best friends, and they're just sort of like getting into trouble. Like, and that's
I love that.
Yeah.
We get that with David and Billy a bit, like when that first starts, when they're giggling at the Queen, and they're, she's trying out the accent, and he's like, no, don't do that. Like there are moments where the two of them seem to be giggling their way through stories. I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as that with this couple, but we'll see.
It'll be very interesting how it evolves. We're still at the beginning stages, folks. We don't know yet what's to come other than what we've seen in the trailers and such.
But I don't think anybody has to worry about, at least as far as these two goes, any sort of like, romantic entanglement.
No. If they do, you'll see me storming off the set of our station very quickly. So no, I don't see that. But that's actually a good lead-in, though, because we've got a lot to look forward to in the upcoming season. This is from the episode when they see go to the Beatles. And so it's interesting. So does the new doctor, can he automatically just grow his hair, or is it a wig?
What I was saying to someone the other day is we're getting our first sartorial doctor. Like previous doctors have had either, you look at, say, Davison, who had one outfit. Thanks for that, John Nathan Turner. And then you've got other doctors who have, like the fourth doctor, who have a variation on a theme. It's roughly the same thing, but there's slight changes, different coats, different shirts. They're not wearing exactly the same thing. This is the first doctor who is happy to dress to impress. Like in Church on Ruby Road, we get 4 outfits, 4 completely separate outfits, including hats. We rarely get hat doctors. This is also the very first doctor. This is the very first doctor.
He did grow his hand, so he could grow his hair.
Sure.
That's very true.
This is the very first doctor, the very first regular doctor, because I'm not counting John Hurt, to have facial hair. Every other doctor beforehand has been clean shaven.
Well, there was a few episodes when I know, like, Matt Smith had a beard and such.
Well, yeah, when he's been held captive for a year. As I said, regular doctor, regular continuing.
Yeah.
Although apparently the moustache is fake because he couldn't grow one in time, so it is actually glued on. So the hair may be glued on.
Really?
Too. Probably is.
Interesting.
When you think about it, the TARDIS would have to have like a huge closet. So there's probably clothes in there that have just been collecting dust. So he's like, sure. I'm going to give these airtime.
We've seen it. It's like, it's a huge,
the one in
closet.
Christmas Invasion when he goes and gets dressed.
Yeah.
It's very unfair of you to put a picture of Jonathan Groff up. Jinx Monsoon. Okay, I want to talk about. Okay, so we're getting into this. Okay, so at the end of the giggle,
you mean the Rani?
No, it's not the Rani. Forget the Rani. Nothing to do with the Rani. It's nothing to do with Time Lords. Okay, right. So at the end of the giggle, the Toymaker says, "My legions are coming," and the Meep says, "Oh, the boss won't like this." So Russell T Davies, again in a letter to Doctor Who magazine, mentioned the Toymaker belonging to a pantheon, so a group of gods. Now, he has mentioned a pantheon before in The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, the Pantheon of Discord, which is held up by the Trickster, which was a big character in the Sarah Jane Adventures that changed time to, and also sent that weird-looking bug to sit on Donna's back and make her go left.
Right.
But he said that there is a group of them. So the Toymaker's obviously like part of it. This is my big connecting dots. Toymaker's part of it, and the Trickster's part of it. Jinx Monsoon.
So now we're going back to the board. Okay, got it.
Jinx Monsoon's character is clearly going to be part of it because how could a character that looks like that in a musical episode, wearing a musical outfit like that, playing a villain, how could it not be part of this big thing? So, yeah, and I think they're going to do more callbacks to previous characters as well. I think something like Fenric from The Curse of Fenric is going to be part of this. I think they're setting up something big. This is where it goes into really, really me reaching territory here, because in the Toymaker's setup in the giggle, there are 6-pointed stars everywhere. Constantly 6-pointed stars, absolutely everywhere, the same pattern. And the church on Ruby Road, the face of the clock, has exactly the same 6-pointed star on it. So that's my really digging in deep on that one. It's nice to have it's really nice to let your mind just go down the insane pathways with Doctor Who again. It's
right. Well, there were stories that the Toymaker was from the same race that the Black Guardian and the White Guardian also were from.
I think they'd hinted. I think they'd sort of assumed that, or some people had sort of put it together. He mentions them in the giggle. He says, "I fought the Guardians of your universe and turned them into voodoo dolls."
Right.
Also, the Celestial Toymaker. I think it's interesting to talk about the fact that the sort of the racial connotations. So in the 1960s, they wrote the story "The Celestial Toymaker," and Celestial used to be a racist term for a Mandarin Chinese person. And so the costume designer read the word celestial and went, "Oh, okay," and that's why he's in this, like, he's a white guy in this really racist, like, Chinese outfit,
Fu Manchu type thing.
Yeah, and then when Russell T Davies brought him back, he made him look more like a toy maker. But because he's a villain and he really wants to hammer home proper villainy, he made the toy maker racist. He's putting on really bad accents, and the guy who buys the doll, because he's obviously South Asian heritage, he said, "Oh, you're probably used to warmer climes," in like a really sort of racist thing. It's a wonderful performance from Neil Patrick Harris, but that's my whole fan theory that I'm sure other people have said more eloquently than me. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk, and if it comes true, I will be screeching.
I think along with that, though, too, and we've already seen the signs of it too, and I think Russell has alluded to it, is I think, if not every episode in the season, I think the threats that we're going to see are going to be a lot more fantastic, fantasy-based, magic-based, mystic. I don't think we'll see. I mean, it would be nice to have a different, maybe the occasional more hard science fiction type thing happen as well, just to show a little bit more range. But it feels like, they've opened the doors now to fantasy, and we're going to see a lot more fantasy type villains and monsters now.
Well,
most likely.
The author Terry Pratchett, about it was longer than 15 years ago, before he died, he wrote a preface to a Doctor Who book, and he said Doctor Who isn't science fiction, it's action in space. It hasn't been science fiction for a long time, and I think we will get writers who want to write the hard science fiction that explains things, but I think the fantasy is going to be there of it's Clark's law, isn't it? Any technology sufficiently advanced and removed from our own is indistinguishable from magic. The Doctor's still going to have a line, every episode saying it's not magic, it's just, different sort of technology or whatever. Exactly. So we'll get that added to it. But I think, with 14, throwing down the salt, they pretty much said, okay, this is the doorway that's going to allow a lot more magic.
He opened
and
the
fantasy.
gate for everything.
Yeah. So now we will see that. I don't know if that's something that they felt in the past was kind of holding them back a little bit. But I think they're going to explore the heck out of that.
I think so. If you have to explain and justify the science of everything you do, you don't have time to actually do the action.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And you've got people who want explanations.
There's an internet full of them. And that's the thing. These are the people who, and I think that's why Russell T Davies has said this, like, we're moving to fantasy. As I said, it's just him saying he doesn't want to explain, he doesn't want to spend so long explaining things because people want to put things in nice, neat little boxes. We're watching Doctor Who, guys. It's the canon doesn't apply. It just...
No.
Things just happen.
No.
And they contradict each other constantly.
Well, the best answer for it is always because Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
That's always the best answer.
Timey-wimey. Like, that's...
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what it's about. And it's about having fun. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, too, because we have, a whole season that we're going to get probably in May and we're going to get some amazing stories from it. And then we're going to get another Christmas special. And then we're already going to get another season the following May.
Yep.
So
Nice.
That's awesome. What worries me, though, is, and, I don't know anything, so take this all with what you say. Most doctors only last 3 seasons.
Mm.
So there's a good shot, Shudi's going to probably be filming his regeneration probably by the end of this year.
No!
If on the schedule. And we're just still at the beginning of his.
It's one of those precedences set down. It depends on what, I suppose in the old days they used to worry about being typecast, but I don't think it's one of those things. I don't think any doctor has not had a career after Doctor Who. They've gone on to keep doing. I mean, even Tom Baker, the most well-known doctor in history, has had a huge career after Doctor Who. And I mean, especially, I suppose the problem is someone like Ncuti, who is young and who is incredibly talented. I know he, like a lot of other actors, wants to do, wants to do theatre again. And of course, Millie Gibson is only just 18, 19, and her star is rising, so she may want to do other roles as well. But
exactly.
I think because the whole 3 seasons thing came from the fact that Patrick Troughton told Peter Davison never stay for more than 3 seasons. But other doctors have done different things. Some have stayed for 2, some have stayed for 1. I don't think we'll ever know the full story behind Christopher Eccleston, but I think just let them do it as long as they enjoy doing it, and then they leave. Don't speculate.
I don't even think Chris Eccleston knows what's going on with Chris Eccleston. But that's the truth. So it's going to be interesting. We're about to come into a real golden age of Doctor Who, because we're getting, whole new seasons regularly. We're going to get a spinoff or 2. We don't know everything yet, but I think because Russell has come out and said he doesn't want to go a year between Doctor Who anymore.
No,
he wants.
I don't think he'll let that happen.
No, he wants it to be. He wants to set a precedent, and I think as long as we don't get something like Class, I think we'll be fine. So, I think we'll be in good shape with that.
Another thing to remember is another thing to remember is the seasons will be shorter, significantly so.
Yes,
they're only going to be 8-episode seasons, and I would be fairly sure that what we saw in the trailer is only from the first 4 episodes.
Wow!
So yeah, and it does come out in May, because Doctor Who Unleashed said May release.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun what we're going to get. And, I want to go around here, and what predictions do you have for this new season? What do you think? I want to see how much, I'm going to let Ashley go first. So.
Oh gosh. Well, I actually don't like to do predictions. I kind of just like to sit back and see what happens. My primary interest is seeing the friendship develop between the Doctor and Ruby, and I would really like to see their friendship and how they grow and develop as people. And I know when you think about the companions go through a lot of trauma, and not all of them have left the TARDIS on the most lighthearted or uplifting note, but I would like, whenever Ruby's time is done, it would be great if she could leave the TARDIS you know what, I am better, my life is better than when I stepped in the door. So I would like her to be happy and smiling, a tearful, happy goodbye between her and the Doctor waving would be something I would like to see whenever she decides her time is done.
No, exactly. Don't marry her off to the alien that they just met in this episode or something.
Yeah, it's no tragedy, just a nice, happy, feel good ending. It doesn't have to be like that every time, but I think it would be nice to have.
Yes, don't have her turn into a puddle girl or
I don't want to be depressed. Please, the world is
or
crazy
fly off
out
into
there,
the diner at the end of space.
Right? Yeah, the world is kind of a downer right now, so I would like to have a happy.
Well, that's all right then.
Yeah,
Exactly.
a happy goodbye and something along those
Exactly.
lines.
So yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. Ciarán.
Okay. Things that I haven't already talked about. The One Who Waits, that the toy maker mentions. The one creature I dared not fight, the one who waits. I saw them and ran. That's a like a thing like, oh, you put that there deliberately for us to see. Very, very deliberately. Don't know. Does it have anything to do with Mrs. Flood? The old woman. Haven't you ever seen a TARDIS before? Don't know. One thing I do know that is quite interesting. Okay, so we didn't talk about the thing that I hated most about the 60th anniversary, which was Mavity. Hated it.
Mavity.
Hated it.
Okay, you're bringing some Mavity to this issue now.
It did get old.
But I think...
Oh, they're just getting started.
I think it's part of a larger thing, because the actress who plays the housekeeper to Isaac Newton also played the hippie old lady at the gig in the church on Ruby Road. It is very, very, very rare for an actor to play two roles in episodes so close to each other, characters that have names. And also, that character looks like she's in that actress looks like she's in next season as well. So this is a character that is becoming a through line throughout this story.
And you are correct with that, because I've looked at the IMDb. So
yeah, I checked that one. So he is becoming a bigger character, and so I think Mavity is going to be another thing. See, when it first happened, my co-host Amber said, it's going to be like a Mandela effect sort of thing that's going to happen. And I was like, no, it's just a stupid one-off, one line that's not going to go anywhere. And then it happened again in the Christmas special, and I got really annoyed and really angry. Which I was just like, it's so stupid. But I reckon this character is changing time somehow in little ways, and I think it's going to become a bigger thing. I know that the character of Mrs. Flood, Russell T Davies has said, is a slow burn. So she might be the big bad of next season, even. Like, not the one that's coming, the one after. But there's this through line that's starting to happen with the Pantheon and with this character appearing in different points in time. So something's going to happen there.
So basically, she's not the bad wolf. She's the Torchwood coming.
Exactly. She is the poster of Vote Saxon on the wall. Like that's what she's doing. Yeah, and he's bringing that back. He's bringing all of that back. Remember when? Again, I don't want to talk too much about Chris Chibnall, but remember his first season where we had a villain in the first episode and the last episode, and literally nothing about them in between. That was a bit. He was also a Red Dwarf.
Good old
villain.
Tim Shaw.
He's a Red Dwarf villain. He is not a Doctor Who villain.
No, he's not. No. That's saying bad names to Red Dwarf there, mister. Come on.
If he was in Red Dwarf and you were allowed to laugh at like the guy with teeth on his face, yeah, it would be like a reasonable Red Dwarf like comedy villain. But
yeah, exactly. All right, Mr. Mike, what about you?
Well, as we've already mentioned, I mean, like every single one of the 4 specials, Russell T gave us something that is going to be like some sort of impending doom, whether it's the boss or whether it's, Mavity or the Legions or the One Who Waits, and sometimes he gave us multiple ones. I mean, we've got like a handful of them, whether or not that they are all tied together or referencing different mysteries, we don't know. And I'm not going to predict whether or not, I mean, I don't think there's enough evidence for any of that right now. So I'll be happy to see it. But I will say, sort of along the lines of what Ashley said, as far as the state of the Whoniverse goes, I don't think it's ever been brighter. I am more excited now than I've ever been about Doctor Who in this franchise. And that's saying something, because I really was excited about a lot of the prospects that we got with New Who. A lot of the actors who played the Doctor, I was very excited about. And we got a lot of great payoffs, I think, in the franchise. Mm-hmm. But for the first time in a long time, I don't know what's coming. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I know that, there's probably certain things we can rely on. Russell T does like to repeat himself a lot. Like, he's got certain patterns. So there will be things that'll be like, oh, that's so Russell T. But the colors, the palette that he's playing with is a lot different. And I do expect, not every single episode, but I do think we're going to see some things. We're going to continue to see some things we've never seen before in this franchise. And that is exciting to me in a way that, like I said, I have not experienced in a long, long time, probably since I watched, the first season with Christopher Eccleston. So, I think the state is great. I mean, ask me a year from now, we'll see, but how it plays out. But my expectations are pretty high. But I think he set that bar, and I know he can meet it.
That's awesome. I definitely think so. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to go and enjoy the ride. I don't like making predictions because I know I'm always wrong. I know I'm constantly wrong. And I don't want to guess. I don't want to listen to certain people who whisper in my ear and go, hey, I've heard from an expert that this is what's going to happen. And it's like, no. Not going to do it. I want to be surprised. I want to enjoy the ride. And I think we're going to see Ncuti becoming more popular than probably the last 3 Doctors, I would probably easily say. And I could see if they do the marketing right. I think if they do the advertising, I think if they get him out there, if they get tie-ins, I don't know if I really want the sonic remote control that he's been carrying around.
Oh, I'll buy it.
Instead of...
I will. I'll buy it.
Oh. He's like, sold.
Because I'm sure that's going to be coming.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Totally.
I'm hoping we're going to get Funko Pops. I'm hoping we're going to get 3/4 inch figures. I'm hoping we're going to get, we're already getting comic books with him in it, and Titan's already put it out. So we already have a 15th Doctor comic with Ruby. So it's pretty awesome that, that's out there already. So, I want to see more and more exposure. One of the coolest things when I was out in Los Angeles back for Comic-Con years ago, I think it was Matt's first or second season, they had in Los Angeles on the side of buildings, Doctor Who, and it had Amy Pond and the 11th Doctor on it. And it was just awesome to see. I want to see stuff like that. We saw them on buses. We saw them, I want people to get excited about it. Heck, they were on the back of DC Comics even, and so the marketing they were putting out for that was awesome. I want to see them do that again with Ncuti Doctor, with Dr. 15.
One thing,
I don't see why they couldn't.
Absolutely. One thing I want to say about Russell T Davies is I've been watching a lot of his stuff recently because I love what I watched Nolly recently, and I've watched Years and Years and It's a Sin, and I've just this week watched Torchwood Children of Earth again. And the one thing I have to say about Russell T Davies is that he is very observant, and he understands cause and effect. He understands if one thing happened, he knows what's going to happen, like what the effect of a cause is. And I think he uses that on us in a certain way. I think he understands what the effect of the things that he says is going to be. He's very calculated in what he says, and he knows what the effect is going to be. And I think everything he says has a reason behind it. And that reason is keeping us at a level of hype. I think we are his willing slaves at this point. He will say something and he knows exactly what we're going to think about it. He knows exactly how the internet is going to react. He knew the Mavity memes were coming a mile off. He wrote that and he's like, that is going to be, there's going to be images of that. There's going to be memes of that. Tumblr is going to go insane. Instagram, everywhere. He knew. And I think there is a lot more that he knows, and he is going to keep putting out piecemeal little bits of information. And you know what? I think he's probably already told us who the villain is in the next season, and it doesn't matter. We're just going to hang on his every word, and that's... I love it. I really do. I love the, like Mike said, just that it is a bright, shining new age of Doctor Who where we're being spoiled for Doctor Who. We're constantly, being fed with Doctor Who, which is great.
Oh, it's a great way to put it. That is a great way to put it. And I think that's actually a great way to wrap it up tonight. So I think that's perfect. We survived our first YouTube channel video. Woo-hoo! Folks. We did it. Thank you for everyone who joined us tonight. We'll be doing these live episodes more often, especially since we have the YouTube channel now. But all the episodes going forward will be in video format. So, when Mary's back, and we'll have like one or two other guests and everything. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think this is a big adventure ahead of us, not just with Doctor Who, but also with Earth Station Who. So I think that's pretty awesome, folks. So I want to thank everyone who joined us in the audience. Thank you for the comments. We do appreciate you guys very, very much. Ciarán, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for quietly sitting back and listening to me go on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
Who knew I was going to be able to just kick up my legs tonight and just, chill. So it was perfect. Anything you want to shout out about, sir?
Yeah, well, I've got a podcast. It is called Please Attend Carefully, all about the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord known universally as the Master. We've got the second half of season 1 starts,
or as we call him, little golden tooth.
Oh, we had so much to say. Please attend carefully. My Instagram's at Mark3 Vocal Machine, as it's up on the screen there. New episode coming out next week. Hopefully, my computer is on the verge of dying, so I'm hoping I can get this episode completely edited out before my computer actually dies. Come join us.
Awesome. And Ashley, thank you as always, my dear.
Oh, thank you. It's always a blast chatting with you guys.
Anything you want to shout out about or promote?
I recently had a great time over on the Earth Station 1 podcast doing the end of the year wrap up. It was a lot of fun to talk about positive things, our favorite things from the year, and Doctor Who came up quite a bit in the discussion. So it was fun to dive in a little bit deeper here about some of that.
Awesome. And Mr. Mike, thank you as always, my friend.
And as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to promote or shout out about, sir?
Well, as we mentioned on at the end of the Earth Station 1, the last Earth Station 1 podcast that we did, we're going to go on a bit of a hiatus, a bit of a sabbatical while we retool some things and work on some personal projects. But there will be no end to there would be no interruption with Earth Station Who. We will be doing that still coming to you every couple of weeks, so you will still be able to find us here. You'll also be able to find me once a month. Pretty soon we'll be recording the first episode of the Dragon Con Report, so that'll still continue. And I've got some other projects that are popping up as well, podcast wise. So keep watching this same Bat channel, this same Bat space. So you might see us there as well, see me there as well. And of course, when we return with Earth Station 1, we will be back and better than ever.
Yeah, sure. It'll be perfect when it comes back. So we will definitely.
I didn't say perfect. I just said better. That's a lower bar.
That's a real low bar there, sir. I just wanted to say thank you as always for everybody. Definitely, I think we're going to dedicate the rest of this whole season of Doctor Who and Earth Station Who is going out to Dr. Scott VA. For those who don't know, we lost Dr. Scott right after Christmas, and him and I have actually had long discussions about, Doctor Who and a lot of this, and even all the specials. I didn't hear what he thought of the Christmas special, obviously, but I knew what he thought of the 60th anniversaries and such. And Scott was a true Whovian to the heart. And we actually met him at a Doctor Who con originally. So, you know what? This season is, don't forget Dr. Geek. And you know what? Just keep him in your mind and in your heart. And we will always remember him. And, also our wishes go out to his wife, Debbie. And you know what? We miss him already with more than you can even say. And our thoughts are with him. All right. And Mary, get better, please. That's the other word of advice. We miss you. So on that, we will be able to see you guys soon. So check us out on Facebook. Now you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're there. Please find us. Please also leave feedback, like and subscribe. Tell all your friends about us. This is the begging part, as we'd like to say, of the show. So please, 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 we really appreciate it. You could also write us anytime at feedback@ourstationwho.com. So definitely find us. Hope everyone has a great week or so. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And we've got lots of reviews still to do before the new season's with us. So check back on us. We will talk to you soon. Peace, everyone. And you know what? Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We love you guys. Cheers. Bye.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
What's new on the 42 cast? Let's ask my co-hosts.
We're talking about Doctor Who,
comic book shows and movies,
and we're talking about all things Star Trek,
and so much more.
Check us out on Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes.
It's only on the 42 cast, your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything.
So Nathan, when are we finally talking Babylon 5?
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping for the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.